Operating in the Courts of Heaven, Chapter 2. In other words, Jesus was the Word sent out of heaven to be born in the flesh. His physical birth allowed what was written in the book of heaven to be made manifest in the flesh. He then spent the next 33.5 years of his life fulfilling what had been written in his book. Anything God ordained is first written in a book or scroll in heaven. It must be sent out of heaven and birthed into the earth realm before it can become flesh. This is what happened to Jesus, but also to us and anything else that is ever born into the earth realm. So it would be said that before we came into the earth, we were a word written in a scroll. When we were born into the earth, we began the process of living that our kingdom purpose as it was written in heaven in our book. This is why Ephesians 2:10 says that we are his workmanship. For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand, that we should walk in them. Ephesians 2:10. The word workmanship in Greek means a poem. We are God's poem that was written down in heaven that has now entered earth. We are a poem with a point. Our lives carry a message that is creative and life-giving. Notice that this poem was written down. The works we are to do were planned beforehand. We were a scroll in heaven with poetic power that has now entered the earth to cause the writings of heaven to become flesh. These are not just books about individuals. There are also books about churches, apostolic, I cannot say that word today. Sorry. Anyways, I'll move on from that word. Businesses, ministries, cities, states, regions, and nations. Heaven is full of books. Anything that is purpose of the Lord will begin as a book in heaven. The Apostle John, while in heaven, was given a book that he was commanded to eat. This book was about nations. Revelations 10:8-11 shows an angel with a little book that has destinies and nations in it. Then the voice which I heard from heaven spoke to me again and said, "Go take the little book which is open in the hand of the angel who stands in the sea and on the earth." So I went to the angel and said to him, "Give me the little book." And he said to me, "Take and eat it, and it will make your stomach bitter, but it will be as sweet as honey in your mouth." Then I took the little book out of the angel's hand and ate it. And it was as sweet as honey in my mouth, but when I had eaten it, my stomach became bitter. And he said to me, "You must prophesy again about many peoples, nations, tongues, and kings." Revelation 10:8-11. John was instructed to take a book and eat it. This book was from heaven and was about the future of the kingdom purpose of nations. We know this because the result of John eating the book was the ability to prophesy to peoples, nations, tongues, and kings. It was going to become the job of the Apostle John to prophesy out of the books what God has said about these nations. When John would prophesy from the books, it allowed court sessions to begin. Revelation 19:10 tells us the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. And I fell at his feet to worship him. But he said to me, "See that you do not do that. I am your fellow servant and of your brethren who have testimony of Jesus. Worship God, for the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy." Revelation 19:10. The word testimony means to give judicial witness. Jesus, from his position as our high priest and mediator, is testifying in our behalf in the courts. Notice that this testimony becomes a spirit of prophecy in our mouths. When we prophesy, we are not just speaking in the earthly realm, but we are in fact picking up and discerning in the present testimony of Jesus in the courts of heaven. We are agreeing with and echoing the testimony of Jesus. This grants heaven the right testimony to render verdicts in our behalf and the kingdom purposes of God, even in nations.